we're doing Hashrocket Book Club, 7 languages in 7 weeks. Just got back from Ruby on Rails and continuing that still. And yeah, we're doing I.O. today. So for those that thought we were continuing to do Ruby, nope, sorry.
Yeah.
Ruby's boring.
That's my fault.
Yeah, so I.O. I.O. is pretty cool. It's all objects and dynamic.
Prototypes.
And prototypes, which are just objects that are dynamic. Yeah, so I've never led one of these things before. And if you guys just want to participate and yell things out, that'd be great. You guys in the audience, I'll totally do it.
Like, things! Like that.
Yeah, that's good, see? That totally ended up some awkward silence. Okay, so Steve Court invented I.O. so he could learn some things about language implementation, and it kind of grew out of that, and it became a pretty cool little language. It is a prototypical language, which is similar to JavaScript or Lua or Aoki or other languages. It is the only one that is covered in the book, though, so take note if you want to learn about prototypical inheritance. And basically what that means is that every object is just a clone of another one. As these guys probably know very well, with all their time in JavaScript. And he made this footnote, which I totally agree with. After spending time with I.O., he had a much stronger grasp of JavaScript and its prototypical inheritance. And I find that's a common pattern with languages, where the languages that are more pure to a concept are much better at explaining it, versus languages that are necessarily more practical with the concept. Like, after dealing with Haskell for a while, I had such a better understanding of functional programming, even though those facilities are available in other languages as well, such as Clojure or Ruby or whatever. Yeah, so moving along, we're skipping school because we're Ferris Bueller. Did I mention that this is the movie analogy? The movie analogy for this one is Ferris Bueller's Day Off, because it's smart and young and a whippersnapper.
And reckless.
Reckless.
It lets you modify anything.
Yeah, more so than Ruby.
Including the values true and false.
Yes, which is awesome. Yeah, so I.O. is cool because it has a really super simple syntax, and basically everything is a message, everything is a message, and everything returns a receiver that responds to messages. Your control constructs, things that you would think would be keywords, any of that, they're all just methods. It's awesome. Yeah, everything's message, no keywords. And the other cool thing about I.O. is it has crazy amounts of reflection. Like, Ruby has pretty good reflection facilities, but I.O. just blows them out of the water. So let's see. Let's download our interpreter if we haven't done that yet. Brew install I.O. works for most people, not me.
So did you determine that the actual issue is that you don't have 64-bit OS? Is that
Based on some other issues in the GitHub issue tracker for Homebrew,
yeah?
Seemed like some of my libraries were.
So if you edit the homebrew or the I.O. formula and you do env.x11 and also do env.libxml2, that worked for me. In addition to doing env.j1 or j2, whatever it is they have in there.
Just inside the I.O. class somewhere.
If you do brew edit I.O., yeah, and then you'll see where they're there and call it. So this is not really. Anyway.
Well, I mean, some other people might have come across it.
Yeah, I'll get to pushing that back to master later. But I just had to get it working for today.
True.
Because I was running a year-old version of the interpreter that didn't have readline support or anything, and it was painful.
Nice.
So yeah, to print a string, we'll do this, which is the string, and then you send it the print message. So it's really simple. This is a string object, which acts as our receiver, and print is the message, and then it returns that. It prints that. Yeah, very little syntactic sugar, super easy. To instantiate a new object, we will simply just call clone on whatever the object is that we are trying to create a new version of. So like in this example, that would be how you basically create something akin to a vehicle class, is you just create a clone of object.
And this is with the colon equals operated.
Yes.
Rather than the
Oh, I didn't explain equals versus colon equals, did I?
And there's a double colon equals, which
Yes.
I didn't get into.
I think it explains it in a little.
Yeah.
Does
Like
it?
right in
Okay.
the slot part, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Slots.
Okay, and then you can do things like this with our new vehicle object. And this is how you would define a method called description, or an attribute called description. Either way, it'd be paid as much the same. And what we're actually doing is we're creating a slot which has the value, or the key of description and the value of something that takes you places. That value can be a method, it can be another object, it can be whatever. Yeah, so objects have slots, and you can think of a collection of slots as a hash. They have very similar semantics. Yeah, colon equal, which is a little bit strange, will assign something to a slot. If the slot does not exist, colon equal will create it, whereas if you just use equal, it will throw an error if that slot doesn't exist. However, if you've already created the slot, it will set it just fine. And then, as Shane was saying, there's also colon equal, which has very similar behavior to colon equal, except that will also create a setter method for you. So if you have b colon equal cool string, then you'll also get a set b method, which the colon equals does not give you. Which would be good if you wanted to like override the behavior of equals or
So to create set underscore b.
set set big B. It's camel case.
It will camel case whatever method you gave it.
Yes.
It's your new favorite language.
Anyway. So yeah, as they demonstrate here, if you try to assign something to a non-existing slot, it throws an error because slot non-existing slot does not exist. Imagine that. And if you want to get the value back, you can just do pass the description message to the vehicle receiver, and that returns the value of that slot. And if you would like to see the full list of slots, you can just do slot name and pass that to the object, and it will return a list of all the available slots. You see here is our description one that we defined, and we also have this type one that
What's
every
that?
I don't know, where does it come from? Every prototype, which is I'm jumping ahead. Oh God.
I think he goes into it on
He
the
does
Beer, drink
later.
some beer.
Panic. That's exactly how my talk went.
Oh yeah, he says that we'll get to it in a few paragraphs.
Yeah, so every object supports type, and we'll get to exactly how that is soon. And this is an object-oriented design right here, orienting objects. It's pretty cool. The diagram is kind of before where it's necessary.
Oh, they use car Ferrari because that's what he drove in the movie.
Oh! See, he drove a Ferrari in the movie. That's why we're talking about Ferraris. Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Did he also watch The Princess Bride? Because he put a lot of references to that in here too.
Yeah, that's not till later. So yeah, here's what we've learned so far. You make objects by cloning other objects, as you do with any prototypical language. Objects are collections of slots, and you get a slot's value by sending that message to the receiver. Like anything in this language. So, how do you do inheritance? You clone from the proto that you made before. Much like we did when we created that one. Because vehicle inherits from object, and now car inherits from vehicle. And the car type is car, yada yada. And the car has description, which is inherited from the top level vehicle description. It doesn't doesn't actually have its own description slot. It just looks up the prototype tree until it encounters the description slot and returns that value, and if it doesn't, then it throws an error. Yeah, so it's very similar to how standard inheritance works, but you just have to break out of the whole class versus instance mindset, I think is the main thing. Now, we are going to create a more instancy sort of object, which is our Ferrari. Note the lowercase f there, which is a clone of car. Now, if we do a list of the slot names for Ferrari, we are missing our ubiquitous type slot. Aha! So, types in I.O. will by convention begin with uppercase letters, and when you, so if you invoke a type slot on something that is itself not a type, you will get its prototypes type, which in this case would be car, if we invoke it on our Ferrari method, the object.
Is it just a convention, or does it actually behave differently?
Both. I mean, the only difference is that it doesn't have a type.
It
But
does
for-
behave differently. It is not just a convention.
It's not exactly the same now, but you can use them largely the same. Like you can still have a clone of Ferrari.
Yeah, you can, and then I'm pretty sure you can make a prototype off of that.
Yeah. So it has slightly different semantics. So that's how objects work in I/O and inheritance. So yeah, this shows you the chain we just defined there. Neat. Yeah, so this just reinforces if you wanted Ferrari to be a type, you would just begin with an uppercase letter, in which case it will have a type of Ferrari, versus our other one, which has a type of car.
What a weird language.
So this is how we'll define a method in I/O. You simply use the method and put the method in there.
Good dog, I heard you like methods.
Pretty much. Where does the lunacy end? I imagine this is what Rubinius is like to some extent, although I haven't spent much time with it to actually know that. But yeah, method is just an object like anything else. It has a type of block, which if you are familiar with Ruby, you would know that blocks are sort of like methods. Sort of. Or in this case, exactly.
Then why isn't it the block method? Or dare I say the block?
Is there a block method? There may be. It's crazy enough to work. Oh hey, that's tiny.
Method is an object, and method is an instance of block, which I imagine is an instance of object, which is the.
So it's just an anonymous.
There is a block method on object.
What does it do?
I imagine it.
Well,
It behaves exactly the same as method.
yes, it just returns your method.
I'm sure there's not.
Does it return a method or does it return a block?
Difference. Yeah. Like the difference between proc and proc new and lambda or something.
I seem to recall there being some difference between them when I was messing around with I/O 6 months or a year ago, but I have no clue what that realization was. So maybe we'll realize later again, or not. You know. So yeah, if we wanted to attach that method to an object, we simply just assign it like any other slot. It's pretty simple. It doesn't have any, def, method name, whatever sort of construct or function or anything. It's just there. So yeah, just attach the drive method to car, and then you can do car drive, and it'll call that method. Neat. Am I going over stuff too fast? Does it feel?
No, you're good.
Am I saying way too much?
Nope.
All right. Okay, and then if you want to retrieve the contents of that slot without evaluating them, which is what happens when you do this style of invocation. It invokes, You can use the getSlot method, which all objects will respond to unless you were to get rid of it. So we can do Ferrari getSlot drive, and that'll just return the method signature as opposed to evaluating it and printing vroom. Neat. Yeah. And then, so each object will have a proto method, in which you can get its proto. In the case of our Ferrari, the proto will be car. If we were to call car, the proto would be vehicle. The difference being between that and type is if we call car on a type itself, we would just get the return value, or the same return value. So the type of car would be car, whereas the proto of car would be vehicle. Versus Ferrari, which is a car, but returns a type of car and a proto of...
Yeah, so the Ferrari proto and type are going to be both going to be car because Ferrari isn't a type.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah, I did a terrible job explaining that. Good job, Cam.
you got it.
You understand without any help.
That's not true.
Another cool thing is there's a master namespace called lobby, and that's basically like your root
These
object.
names seem so arbitrary. Between lobby and slot. And
I think
stuff.
lobby is from another language, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh,
I can't
really?
recall though. I seem to recall reading that.
It took me a long
somewhere.
time to remember slot
Mm.
when working with IO. I was like, what am I looking for? Methods? No.
Slots. But yeah, so lobby is just where it's kind of like our world namespace. It just sort of holds all this crap that we're jumbling in our... I guess it's the global namespace, basically, right? Essentially.
The lobby.
The lobby. The global lobby.
Foyer.
The lobby has a foyer. It is not the foyer.
Oh, okay.
And it does not have a fainting couch.
Mezzanine.
Unfortunately.
But yeah, so if we call lobby, you can see we have all our things we've defined so far. Car, protos, vehicle, exit, which is a method that exits the interactive,
Really?
the interpreter. Yes, imagine that.
Overwrite it.
That's scary. That's crazy. Like,
Just try that out. Overwrite it and then.
yeah,
See what
this,
happens.
I'm
You have to kill
beginning
the
to
process
see
by
how
hand.
you could break this language. 'cause-
What? Yeah, it's
Cause
Well, I
you
think
could-
you could do that in Ruby too. You could def exit.
it's a little bit more difficult to.
You can also
overwrite
capture
some
your
things.
kill signals too, or trap them. So
Yes,
you can't.
I mean that's
Yeah.
standard protocol.
Are there
Everything where you can do that.
any like closure type things in this language?
You mean methods?
I guess
that's-
is there just scope with the methods?
Yeah. A method is a block.
I mean, I imagine if a method, if you were to capture an outside variable, it would carry around the state of that with it. I haven't actually tried that, but I imagine it behaves like a closure if you so desire it to.
I haven't tried it.
We could try it, but let's not. Let's save that for next week.
Okay. He might go over it also.
Yeah, he also might. He doesn't in the first 2 days. He might on the third day. I didn't make it there yet. Yeah. So that's that. Let's move on to lists and maps. Lists are like arrays in Ruby, or lists.
In Python.
More
Yeah.
arbitrary names for things.
Lists.
It's not like lobby.
And then maps are basically the same as Ruby's hash construct or dictionaries in a lot of languages.
Or objects in JavaScript.
Well,
Kind of.
Which is.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
We're getting there.
In this context, it's a misnomer, but.
Yeah, so to create a list, you just do list and then simply give it a comma separated list of things, and that'll create a list. And he makes note to say that there's a shortcut way of representing a list, and that is what he just showed us. He doesn't tell us
Oh,
the
cool.
long cut way,
Oh.
which would basically just to be to clone the
List
list object and then
Pinned.
append stuff to it by hand.
Where's the continuum trains functioner from?
What?
I don't know that reference.
That's,
I know neither. It
Continuum
sounds
trans
familiar.
functioner.
Oh, does it actually say continuum trans
I
function?
think it's in Dude Where's My
It
Car.
is Dude's Where's My Car. Dude
Yeah.
Where's My Car.
They were looking for
Oh,
this
man.
German guy.
Dude's
said,
Where's My Car
"Oh,
sequel."
continuum
Oh,
trans function is
yes.
yes.
They're not
Look at
German,
layers
they're
of jokes.
Swedish.
See, it's the Find
Nobody
My Car.
heard-
list.
I thought they turned out to be aliens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
They,
Steve Zahn was an alien, right? That's all I remember.
Steve's on.
Isn't he the main alien in that movie?
And moving along.
Sorry.
Zoltan?
If it was a good movie we were talking about, I might allow this to continue.
Sorry.
But yeah, so guess what? List has methods on it that do things,
They were Norwegian.
such as append and size, which are all pretty self-explanatory.
Wait, append is just throws it on the end?
Yeah, it just pushes
It's
it
like
into
less
the
and
array.
less and
Is there a
Ruby.
prepend?
Probably.
Yes, there is. Next page.
Oh. Sorry. I guess I could read it.
Hey, they even call it prepend.
Yeah, maybe you could read the chapter next time. Man.
Yeah, it seems like most methods have their counterpart, and they They're typically named sanely, other than lobby. And yeah, there are convenience methods that will work if you have a list of all the same data types, such as average, sum, so forth. Is empty. Blah, blah, blah. The other big collection class in I.O. is the map, which is basically Ruby's hash, or dictionary, as stated before. This does not have any syntactic sugar for creating a new one, like that sweet list method. You just have to clone a map and put stuff in it. Which
At put?
where's my cursor? Yeah, which is how you would assign the value Graceland to the key home. And then when you do at. Yeah. So it's a little bit more to type and stuff than some other languages we might be used to. But it also has equal semantics across all, like everything. So once you can read like one thing in I.O., yeah, you got it. Like you don't have to remember any crazy bullshit. Other than the fact that everything is crazy bullshit. Crazy awesome.
A guy just wrote this for fun to learn about languages, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is being used, like Pixar uses it and some other people use
really?
it.
I read that they don't.
It's popular as a embedded language because it's tiny.
So,
Oh, cool.
just to try it out, rather than call @put and pass in the hash as a key and value, I just did a syntax of Elvis space style space colon equals and then the string, and got the same.
Oh, really? So you don't have to use output, you can just assign it to
Yeah, so.
But that's just treating it as an object, not actually using it as a map.
If you call @put and then you call does it return the same value?
a... Yeah, try calling add to see what happens.
Yeah, it's because you just use it as an object instead of a map.
Oh,
Fair.
So the string is actually an object.
Never know what you're gonna do next.
So yeah, that's cool. It has methods that return things like and everything. If you want to learn more about those, look at the standard library reference, which you can find at iolanguage.com in the programming guide. Oh, not the programming guide, although that one has a lot of good information. If you go to the reference. Whoa!
Their website.
Point it over there.
Like you can go to core.
Turned around and the camera was pointing at me.
This has all your standard types in there.
Oh,
Methods. There's a lot of them.
okay.
You can also get to all this stuff interactively from within the I/O console. So it's a really nice language to explore interactively, much like Ruby. And usually after you implement something, you'll find a better way of doing it has already been accounted for in the core. True, false, and singletons. This Boolean values behave like you'd expect them to.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of space devoted to showing you.
It
that
has
data is normal.
and or keywords, or methods, rather, like Ruby does.
So 0 is true.
And 0 is true like Ruby. Yeah. And you'll see, if you clone either true, false, or nil, it simply returns the original. That's because they are all singletons. And if we wanted to define our own singleton, this is like the first part where you're kind of like, oh shit, I/O is kind of crazy and awesome. We create, in this case, an object called Highlander, and we want our Highlander to be a singleton because there could be only one.
I don't remember that part of Ferris Bueller.
No, I don't either.
Isn't
I
that
don't know where it
Charlie
comes from. Who knows?
What?
Could be anywhere.
Sheen? Charlie Sheen was the Highlander in Ferris Bueller, right?
Yeah,
I thought he was a wizard.
No, he's the wizard? Okay.
Anyway,
You're a wizard.
so in order to make Highlander a singleton, we simply take the Highlander's clone method and make it return Highlander.
Oh, so you just override the clone method? Wow.
And this is where I got into trouble.
Yeah.
It's like, let's start overwriting other stuff.
By the way, Shane just showed me that empty string is also true in this language.
Well, I mean, that's just like Ruby.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's like most languages. Your language is just.
Except those with artifacts of C. And Perl. Which has artifacts of C.
So yeah, now we see if we try to clone our Highlander, it simply just returns the Highlander object, and if you compare them, they refer to the exact same object.
It's freaky that there's no indication. Like I can imagine looking at someone's code and not realizing that the clone method on a particular object doesn't do anything.
Well, you can get the slot for clone and see that it's.
But you'd have to like check that every
yeah.
standard method on every object behaves exactly the way you expect it to.
Uh-huh.
I mean, you could run into that exact same trouble with JavaScript or Ruby. Just not with like normal like keywords you can override. Where the difference with I/O is there are no keywords, so
Right.
you can
You
override
if
anything.
to act like unless.
Or
It's
you
Crazy Town!
make it act like if not.
Oh, that Ferris Bueller!
That Ferris Bueller Highlander. So yeah, be careful, because you can jack up everything in I/O if you want. You can just override clone and then language chokes on itself till you restart the interpreter. Cool.
Jeez.
I think it might actually exit when you try and create a new object.
Oh really?
I think I tried that. Yeah.
Well, he's confirming that. There's an interview with Steve DeCourt. You can read it. It's kind of fun. The part I liked was where he just says that half the reason I/O has these semantics is because he has a terrible memory and forgets all the syntax and keywords and operators of other languages. That's why he just made everything behave exactly the same in I/O.
So it makes it hang.
Yeah, apparently it just hangs when you do that.
Okay, so if you override clone and then you try to clone something, the interpreter just hangs.
Not even if you type
My
in
guess
object
is something
clone.
internal in the interactive console is invoking clone.
Yeah, try
I
to.
imagine it's a very common operation.
Yeah, I think it's trying to return.
Yeah.
Right when it read the REPL.
I don't know. It just doesn't seem like the syntax and weird semantic rules for anything are any weirder than this. But
Really? But there's like one rule to this. Like you have receivers and messages, and everything is just that.
I guess.
Like it's really simple. I think you're just trying to make it like hard,
Well, it's definitely, simpler than C, if that's what he's comparing it to.
or
I don't know.
anyway.
Whatever. It's pretty nifty.
But the other cool thing or funny thing that was in the interview is he said that I ended up being a lot cooler than he originally intended to be because, like an open-ended video game such as Minecraft, for example, people end up using it in unexpected ways just because it's so open.
Minecraft isn't really a game, but okay.
You just want to fight about everything.
I'm just being antagonistic.
But yeah, he says stuff about it. Because of its flexibility, it's generally slow. But we as Ruby developers, of course, don't care about that. Day 1 self-study. So yeah. First one. Evaluate 1 plus 1. And then 1 plus the string 1. Is I/O strongly typed or weakly typed? Support your answer. Who wants to take this one on?
It is strongly typed. I tried that one.
Tim's correct.
What happens?
Because it
gives
blows,
a type, some kind of like. Bleh.
It blows. Well, but it blows up because it expects a
Yes,
number.
it blows up. It doesn't die. It just blows up.
So
Whereas if it was a weakly type language, as long as it
It would.
had a
It
plus
would
method
source it in
defined.
some stupid way.
Yes.
Yeah.
So strongly typed.
Alright, we already went over zero
Zero
is true.
true.
Is
Empty
nil
string is. No, 0 is. Yeah. Yeah.
What about
Yeah.
nil though?
Empty string is
Nil is
true.
false in Ruby, isn't it?
Nail is false.
Yes. And how can you tell what slots a prototype supports?
Proto slots.
Slot names.
Slot names, or you can
Slot
do
names.
has slot also. Difference between equals, colon, we already went over. Sausage King. We're back to Ferris Bueller again.
What? I don't remember a sausage.
He lies about being the child of the Sausage King and gets into some
right.
fancy restaurant.
Yeah.
Abe Farmer, the sausage king.
So yeah, if you like Perl, you will love sausage bluffing. If you like Java, you will hate sausage bluffing.
I've never used Perl.
That was my summary there.
Yes. Yeah.
If you read the chapter, that summary would make sense.
Sorry.
No. Yeah. Conditionals and loops. It has a basic loop construct, which will just loop infinitely, which is used to implement the other loop constructs, such as while.
Does that mean there's such a thing as a break out of a loop?
Yes. There's a break method.
Yeah, I didn't cover that.
It doesn't,
There is,
but there is.
and that's good to know.
I mean, there's only so much language you can cover in
Control
3 days. Yeah. And it's got while loops. And what's kind of cool about I/O is your loops and stuff are just like anything else. It simply takes arguments and then returns an object that will respond to this and do this. Or no, do this. Yeah. So, once again, semantics. Turtles, all the way down. For loops, much the same. Not really too exciting.
Well, the syntax of for loops gets a little crazy depending on.
If you give the extra argument and stuff.
Yeah, so argument 1 is the incrementer, argument 2 is the starting value of the incrementer, and argument 3 is the ending. Then argument 4 is depending on how many arguments you've passed it, either how many you increment it by or what you're actually doing in the loop.
Inside the loop.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So if argument 4 is a number, then it just increments by that number. Otherwise, it does something else.
Yeah.
It's really, really weird.
Yeah. Once again, though, well, actually, I guess it wasn't mentioned yet, but I/O has your sort of higher order constructs. So if you're using your low-level looping constructs, you're probably doing something wrong. Yeah. So this is kind of cool. If statements. If is just a method like anything else. The first thing is the test. So in this case, we're passing it true, which is obviously true. And then the second argument is the if true, that will execute, and the third argument is the if false.
I like that there's an else built into the true statement. That's nice.
Yes. Yes, it is. And then there's also this method of lunacy.
Wait, that returns nil? What? Oh, print line, never mind. What? Yeah.
Oh.
Why did he put in the top one that just returns nil and it doesn't print anything?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't get what the top one's doing.
Is the
I
wait a
didn't even
minute,
notice that
scroll
one.
up.
He's not doing anything with those
no,
strings.
At
so
the bottom of
it's-
that page, the one you have highlighted.
Oh, it's just imperative?
Is the print line imperative? Because that's really weird.
That is kind of weird.
So
Scroll
if you-
down and compare that to the
Scroll,
other two.
yes.
Is
Put it on
because
the seam.
Put
so
it
we
on
can see
the
both
seam,
halves.
the seam, for heaven's sakes. That's really weird.
Yeah, that is kind of weird.
Is that really what it is?
Is that just because the difference between using that style and then the if?
Yeah, that
and
style
else?
seems to be imperative.
So
Whereas the other style-
the then and else methods don't print.
No,
Well,
return their values.
The other one just
apparently.
prints automatically.
That's why would you want to do that?
An implicit print line seems really strange.
Here's
Yeah.
a prettier syntax.
So
and I'll
everything
kick you
behaves
in
the same,
nuts.
other than that thing that doesn't behave the same.
So just remember these.
But if it bothers you, you can just override print.
Cool.
I mean, if.
So
Yeah, you got to override if.
I'll just override this language in a different language.
yeah, really,
We get to that in the third day.
I don't know. Is there ever an instance when you want the last message to be the string rather than nil? I guess that'd be the reason to do it. Because if you look at his last example, it's running the print line, but it's returning a message of nil.
Yes, it evaluates it for the side effect, but then but discards the return value. It appears.
Yeah. Whereas if you encase that entire thing in an if and pass false,
True.
and then those two strings as arguments, then you're going to get the string
Right.
returned based on the condition.
Well, is it evaluating the side effect of printing it, or is it returning the string object?
I think it's returning the string. I don't think it's actually doing the print line.
Yeah. So then I wonder why this doesn't return.
No, I think it's evaluating the print. I mean, it's not showing quotes. It's got to be evaluating the print, right? Scroll up. Scroll back up. Show the freaking two halves.
What?
See,
Calm
there's
down,
no equals greater than to indicate that it's a return value. It's printing, and then it returns nil.
Well, if you just type in a string in double quotes,
It will do what it did in the first half, and the thing above the fold. He's inching away.
So
He's trying to
if
hide
you-
it again.
He's gonna scroll down here.
Ignore the code behind the code.
No, look at that. If you don't let me, you can change it.
well, yeah, you could.
So then if we do like print line here,
So
Yeah.
the print line.
And print line does return the original value still.
Yeah, so it returns the string that you passed into it.
So
yeah, so just returns the object. It doesn't actually print lines.
do
So-
an
so you
if
can-
with a then, but not now.
So like if you want to use.
Because I want to see, obviously, that whatever then returns can be chained onto the else. So I'm wondering if true, then.
I can't see that for the video. If you want it to be on video,
Then-
it needs to be a lot bigger.
Yes. Keep going.
Keep going. Yeah. Look at that.
Pretty good.
Is that big enough?
Yep.
Yes. Now add a print line. Well, obviously.
Yeah, it's
No,
gonna print
add
nil
it inside the
'cause return
parentheses.
is-
Oh,
yeah.
Oh yeah, then that will print the string. Ooh, so
Now
you would need to do like. If you wanted
that
to get
could
the
not
object back.
possibly. What?
Because
Dun-dun.
Alright.
return is a method.
Yes, this language just has one rule.
So
we
the,
never even talked about return. It's not even. It's not a method. It's not a
Return-
message. It goes before the argument. When you,
Return is. Ooh.
yeah,
yeah, this is you just
I think it was.
you just broke
it was-
and shattered this simple
reorder-
Wait, what
world.
about?
Reorder that to blog return. I bet it still works. I think it's just. Oh
No, it
wow.
doesn't.
Wow.
So
It doesn't take a receiver.
it's like a weird kernel-y method thingy. Some might call it a keyword.
Faster.
But you can override it.
Keywords.
There apparently are none in IO except.
I mean, that's
this
not a
one.
keyword though. It can be overridden.
Oh no, you're gonna blow.
But
it
now
up.
you want to make it return something, but you can't because you don't know how to call the original return.
Just
I bet you probably can.
set it to
Well-
true.
set it to method that returns true.
There you go.
Method parentheses true.
Smoke is gonna come out of
Make
it.
a method method. All right, now go back to the one that actually works correctly.
Yeah, the next one. There you go. Oh no!
Ooh.
You broke it.
This has been breaking IO with Hashrocket.
But now, if we took return and made it take an argument,
That's not how it's colon parentheses method parentheses argument.
And then a comma, and then what you're doing.
Arg.
yeah, there we go.
Go up one more.
No, the old. That one.
That one.
That one.
No.
tried to override something clever, it never worked how I expected. There's obviously a whole other system we're not taking into account.
Well, I think also this could be part of the underlying REPL and not part of the language. Like it might rely on return now that we've
True.
considering. Is the source for the REPL written in IO? Can we read it? How does source code work? Anyway, back to the book.
You got 5 minutes.
Ooh, operators. You can override operators and add your own. And then you can like adjust their arity and shit to show how, or not their, yeah, how tightly they'll bind.
That's their priority, not their
Yeah,
area.
their arity is different.
Look at that. Look at the last one on the list.
Precedence,
Return.
not priority. Precedence!
Operator press.
But yeah, so here's all the operator.
Oh crap! Returns an operator!
Oh, so maybe we just need to redo it using the weird add operator syntax. I don't know. There's probably a way to do this. One of you IO experts in the audience, if you want to figure out how to override return and make it behave the way we expect it to, feel free. But cool. Yeah. So yeah, that shit's crazy. I'm not going to talk anymore about it. He makes his own Zor, which is...
Where's the logic for it? Oh, there it is.
Yeah, he gives it a precedence of 11. So it puts it right here with the OR and the pipe.
It goes to 11 like earlier. What he was doing with that.
Oh, so now we're in Spinal Tap land. I think he just likes movies.
It's a recurring theme in this book. I don't get it.
And it was like this goes up to 11, which is not even right. It's like a spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down. He's made numerous errors in his movie quotes.
Yeah, you can read more about that if you want to. It's kind of neat. So here's that thing that we kind of broke down earlier that may or may not be true. I'm just confused now. Apparently he was having trouble, the author of this book was, when he was trying to get a grip on I.O. And someone said, you need to understand that everything is a message, basically.
Almost.
So if you look at I.O. code, everything but comment markers and the comma between arguments are messages. Everything. So learning I.O. well means being able to manipulate them beyond just basic invocation, which we delve deeper into later.
Next
Should we wrap up now?
We should wrap up.
Yeah, this is a good...
Questions from the audience?
Are there any questions before we wrap up? We have a couple minutes left.
We don't have any
Yeah.
questions. We only have 3 viewers right
Oh.
Aww.
It's us, me, and the bot.
It's you guys,
Hashrocket.
me, and Kaz.
Aww.
now. No, I'm logged in onto Hashrocket, so I don't care.
Yeah.
So my first book club was a rousing success then.
Oh, that's okay. Last week was the same.
It would have just been me drunk.
But they'll be able
People
to
do
watch
come back and watch the archives, right, people?
So when you...
Tweet at us when you watch it so Robert doesn't cry.
Yeah, tweet afterwards so I'm not sad. Alright, thanks everyone. Bye.